I'd like to thank the ICCR and the Consulate General and all the other members for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to speak and share my thoughts. I would begin my presentation with a small story to connect to the theme on which I'm going to speak. There were a group of young leaders, and they were very eager to listen to a speaker who was an experienced leader. So as the leader arrived, and as he looked at the young leaders, he asked them a question. Do you know on which topic I'm going to speak today? And the young enthusiastic leaders said, yes, we know on which topic you're going to speak. So the speaker smiled and said, if you know on which topic I'm going to speak, why should I speak? And he left. It was after 3 months that once again he was invited. Now the young leaders' crowd had increased, and the speaker asked the same question, do you know on which topic I'm going to speak today? And they said no. And he smiled and said, if you don't know on which topic I'm going to speak, why should I speak? And he left. It was perhaps after a year. He was again called. It was not now a small hall, a bigger hall. Strategies were planned. And as the speaker asked the same question, do you know on which topic I'm going to speak? One part of the audience said yes, and one part said no. So he looked at them and smiled and said, okay, those who have said no can ask the yes, why should I speak? So there was a point where all were perplexed. And after 3 years, it was the last time he said, I will not come after this. And as he was ready and as they had assumed the question, and as he reached the dais, and he asked, do you know on which topic I'm going to speak? There was no yes, there was no no, there was no yes and no. There was absolute silence like now, as we have it. And then he smiled and said, yes, I'm going to speak on peace. And I was just waiting for that peace within so that you could understand what I'm going to focus on. My focus today is on this piece, where talking is necessary, but the experiential aspect of it is the most important. And that's why I thought that this topic may perhaps interest most of us. So while I was making my paper, which is already ready, I tried to pose forward some questions to myself about the leadership for peace. Is leadership for peace a myth? And as leaders are not somewhere out there. I have tried to look at leaders from two perspectives, we as leaders and they as leaders. And so, are we at peace with oneself? It is very easy to talk about others, to advise others, and it's the most challenging thing to look critically, objectively at oneself. So, are we at peace with oneself? When we look at the society, are we at peace with others? And if there is no peace, what are the reasons? Are we rigid in thought? Are we going to have wars one after the other? Are we going to remain in this insecurity for years to come? I think Indian philosophy has an answer. I don't deny other philosophies, but I think when we look at Indian philosophy, it indicates the spiritual framework. Now, the point with spiritual is some of the critics have raised questions and they have tried to perceive spiritual as something very stagnant, elusive. But when you look at spiritual from the Indian philosophical perspective, and as Vivekananda has tried to reflect, you would see the transformation aspect of spiritual. And so, does Indian philosophical thought indicate transformation in thought, and is it part towards peace? Can we nurture transformation-based leadership for peace by integration of Swami Vivekananda's thoughts? That is the four yoga. Since these were the questions, this was the layout. I just want to give a background of myself. At the age of around 15, 16, as a student of philosophy, I got interested in Vivekananda's thoughts, got fascinated by his writings, and as I tried to graduate, I thought of doing my post-graduation research in Vivekananda's thought, and then I thought I knew everything about it. But actually, I didn't know much about it until and unless I went to S. Vyasa for a training, where I was exposed to the experiential aspect of the four yoga. And that was the time when I started thinking that what Vivekananda has tried to reflect is not just for an academic audience, but it is for bringing about transformation in the masses. So in my paper, I have focused on the spiritual framework of Indian philosophy with a transformation-based perspective, Swami Vivekananda's exposition on the four yoga, and its relevance, and I have also tried to focus on module of training program to develop transformation-based leadership for peace. So I have tried to use some catchy words to impress the audience. No peace, no peace. So here I have tried to focus on the philosophy of yoga. When you look at the philosophy of yoga, you try to focus on these components of peace. You may not always read about peace when you're reading Patanjali's Yoga Sutra or Vivekananda on Yoga or Sri Aurobindo, but the kind of rhythm which it has is reflecting and giving us a direction of peace. So as I look at the dimension of peace from the leader's perspective, it is from darkness to explore divinity. So in my next slide, I will say about who is a good leader and a bad leader. So darkness to explore divinity, where most of the times we've seen leaders to be a little arrogant and they think they know everything. And as a great philosopher says, he who knows that he knows, knows not and is a fool. And he who knows not that he knows is a wise person. So it's very interesting to observe that our leaders today are wise or otherwise. And that's what I'm going to explore. We're also going to focus on the mind, where philosophy of yoga focuses on chaos, which is the fact, and from chaos to contentment. Focus is also on the body, the gross to the refined. An exploration of potentialities. As Swami Vivekananda says, each soul is potentially divine. And yoga shows us this path of what is that divinity which is within us. And the purpose of life is from elimination to elevation. And then is my next slide, leader today and leader for the future. I'm sure you're going to ask me questions that all leaders don't follow in this category or that category. But as a researcher, I today feel that our leaders are in some way lethargic, they are egoistic. If that was not the case, we wouldn't have corruption, we wouldn't have all that we read in our newspapers. They're adamant, they are distracted, they're erratic, they're reckless. I'm not going to generalize, but this is what are the tendencies which we see when we objectively look at our leaders in most of the countries. And as I said, leaders not just outside, but with us maybe, if we look at the self, we also may have these kinds of tendencies with us. So how should the leader of the future be? He should be loving, enlightened, active, with a divine focus, empathetic, and responsible. So in the category 1, there is leader with no peace, and category 2, to no peace. I have tried to make a tabular focus of Swami Vivekananda's dimension of the Karma Bhakti Jnana and the Raja Yoga aspect of it, and quickly to run through. When we look at the loving, enlightened, active, divine, empathetic, responsible, when we try to apply Karma Bhakti Jnana Raja in the present context, it is the work approach when you are trying to just be detached from your work. When you look at Bhakti, it is the God. When you look at Jnana, which tries to tell the leader to go beyond. When you look at the awareness approach in the Raja Yoga, and I've just given one example of a leader, like a leader who tried to be a leader in a different way, who tried to serve the world, and I've given the example of Mother Teresa. Today, if we have such leaders, conflicts can be reduced. Similarly, we have the enlightened aspect of it, knowing through work, surrendering, the wisdom realm, and the higher experience of pranayam. When you look at Swami Vivekananda, the formation of Ramakrishna Mission, and you see from the day when it was formulated till date, if you see the pattern of formation, there's a lot of uniformity, consistency, and the ethical and the moral realm is there. So as I go, and if you see in my paper, I have tried to analyze this. But I have not just mentioned it because I read it. I have also tried, I got this opportunity to conduct some training programs for different groups. It was a very good experience, tough at a time, where I was invited by a government office. I was invited and said that if you know Vivekananda's thought and if you think it is relevant, we have a problem in our office. The problem is we have corrupt officers. Can you do something about it? Let me tell you, that was the most challenging day for me. And I had to reread Vivekananda's thoughts. And I conducted training programs. I trained 500 employees. And I just want to share one feedback. There was a very senior officer. After the training, he said that, "Madam, if you had come to our office 15 years back, I wouldn't be the same person as I am today." And the credit goes to Vivekananda's thoughts, where through the training programs, I used the Karma, Jnana, Raja and Bhakti dimension in those 2 hours experiential aspect of the training. And the credit goes to Vivekananda, to our ancient thought. And that's why I feel that it's always nice to read, but the best is to practice in whatever way you can. And so I have tried to design a training program which you may take it at your level and do it with your groups or with yourself. And so I have a training program, leadership skills from the 4 yoga, that is the Karma Yoga. When we focus on detachment and dedication, crux is the work, person, society, projects for developing society. When we look at Raja Yoga, self-awareness and calmness programs, to make us more efficient, effective, and enlightened, yoga practice and pranayam, bhakti yoga for devotion, excellence, and when we look at Jnana Yoga for objective foresight, so that we come closer to peace. As Vivekananda said, strong we think, stronger we will be. And weak we think, weaker will be. I just want to conclude. When Vivekananda came to America years back, and when he said the East should learn from the West, and the West should learn from East, the East has to learn professionalism from the West, and the West has to learn spirituality. I read the South Asian Times yesterday downstairs, and I got this data. In America today, there are 36.7 million yoga practitioners. And I think Swamiji, wherever he is, I think his dream of that spirituality is reaching most of the people. And we have come to this point where we are not just Americans or Indians. We have tried to dissolve our walls, and yoga is one bridge which will bring us together. So, what next? So these are some simple tips which we can take it from here, you and me, all of us. The daily practice, practice of core yoga, connect with the self, connect with the society, move towards contentment. And as you see your WhatsApp again and again, most important is to peep into your minds again and again and find out whether we are going towards peace. And these are the references. And thank you very much. And may God bless us to move towards peace. Thank you.
And covering a lot of ground. She has conducted so many training programs and workshops. She has a data with her. It is not just the theoretical framework that she is referring to. So the paper is open for discussion now.
Are we practicing yoga? It's a beautiful, pertinent question he raised. Today's speaker made another point. There is corruption. I comment, there is corruption in the practice of yoga because we are at the base physical level, we are unable to go higher to the sublime levels, to the spiritual levels, to the human levels, to the ethical levels, to the moral levels, to the deeper levels, to the intellectual levels. Yoga is confined to the body. It's very, very unfortunate. Yoga is misused, abused. It should be properly utilized. Thank you.
So can we simply say a philosophical chaos and scientific chaos, or you would be proposing something else for this?
I wouldn't, I look at it as a process. Because when we look at the transformation part of it, it's a process where I'm unaware about something, and it's a process when I become aware, there is some kind of a dissolving and I'm moving towards the goal. So in that sense, I think yoga gives us, if you are performing the asanas also, you yourself will observe that there are so many things which you thought you had doubts about, dilemmas, gradually start dissolving. So there is something of the psycho-spiritual aspect of it, which tries to address this chaos at one point, but it takes you towards that contentment at another point.
You know, Hillary Clinton, I work very closely with her on a campaign and all. So is Patel, who's here. And in her memoir, she wrote when, in the debate, if you have anybody watched here, when Trump was chasing back and forth, when she, behind her, she was doing Anulom Vilom, she has quoted that.
Yeah.
And so, and there is a Congressman Paul Ryan has written a book on, mindful nation. So it's just, it's mostly the pranayam that's done instantly for 2 minutes to bounce
now
back.
Let her
I'll just be very brief. The group I have trained, especially a very busy group and which did not have a lot of orientation, making them sit in silence was a big challenge. Pranayam was a very far off thing. But I was able to convey to them that why they have to be in silence. So closing eyes, pranayam is little far. So at least they said after 20 days that they found life to be more proactive. So I did not bother them with something at that stage.
I am very grateful to ICCR and Government of India as well our university to be here. Our topic is approach to our yoga system holistically and for the holistic health. An overview. Just I took some ideas from the Bhagavad Gita, Patanjali Yoga Sutra and some Hatha Yoga text. So before that we are seeing here one picture. He is the founder of the Gayatri Parivar. He given so many, you can say, contribution, and we are follower of this great person. And we find that human being always divided in different part, but we are here as a human being, So approach to yogic practices, holistic health. It is the conceptual overview. Second, next one. Next. Before that. Yeah. So we have the different courses in my yoga course. One is related to holistic health, another human excellence, and another one human consciousness. Yoga has 3 dimensions: prevention, promotion, and curation. So we just discuss about the prevention dimension. Prevention also is a very important part, and yoga is not therapy, but right now we are discussing about the therapy system. And if we see that yoga is a holistic development method. Holistic means relating to concerned with a whole or complete. The state of being free from illness, injury is known as health. So holistic health means complete well-being or wellness. So if we see that some definition, WHO given the one definition in 1946, and he considered WHO considered only 3 dimensions of the human being: physical, mental, and social well-being. But in Ayurveda, Sushruta Samhita already given that physical, mental, and some inner self, it should be coordinated and it should be balanced. And some dosa, some agni, some dhatu, malakriya, prasanna atma indriya mana, swasthete vediyate. So in physically we need some balances between dosas, agnis, malas, indriyas. These are the part, but prasanna means 2 things more given by the Sushrut, Swami Sushrut, that it is called our indriya, our mind and our self should be pleased and should be very happy, then we become healthy. So these are the things, and we have the another theory of Trigunas, and we find that when we are very tamoguni, rajoguni, then our total personality distracted and disturbed. And when we are in Sattva-guna, automatically all disease become free. So we just consider about the Sattva-guna practices, and yoga also is a practice of lead to Sattva-guna. Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharya given one theory: Swasth Sharir, Swachh Man, and Sabya Samaj. For the human being, we need 3 things. Firstly, bodily healthy, illusion-free mind, and crime-free society. Then we can consider the health is the part of the human being. Otherwise, if these 3 things not done, then automatically health affected. Component of holistic health, it divided in 4 parts: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. So physical, we know that our body has different dimensions. Sorry. Next. This previous slide. Yes. Next slide. Yes. So harmony between these 4 components known as holistic health. If physically we are fit, mentally unfit, and socially we are not fit, then we cannot be a healthy person. And spiritual level we are not in consideration. Always we ignore the spiritual level. So physical health. Next one, physical health is a state of body in which the bodily system and bodily activities are performed normally. Indication of physical health: clear skin, eye, shiny eyes, shiny skin, good posture and gesture, pleasant tone of voice, flexible muscle tone, smooth coordinated movement, and so the rhythmic and belly breathing. Second one, we think the mental health. These are the very quickly, because we have short time. And mental health also consider two things: level of happiness and level of adjustment with the personal level, family level, and society level. So self knowledge, self evaluation, self esteem. Next one, and feeling of security, ability of to a satisfaction in relation, satisfaction to bodily desire, and ability to productive and happy, absence of tension and hypertensivity, good feeling level, clear cut philosophy of life, realistic perception, clear cut life goal. Social health, it is again we consider the indication of social health: higher life value, nurse and society, transparent and liable lifestyle, laws or rules or regulation must be applied to all citizens equally. The wealth of society must be disturbed in an equal manner based on contribution of, to its generation, good communication skill. Spiritual health, it is related to self-realization, sense of universal relationship, state of interpersonalization, state of love, compassion and detachment, sense of belonging, sense of connection of the deeply personal with the universal, sense of acceptance, integration and wholeness, sense of bliss. So these are the basic concept of the holistic health, and we just want to discuss about the what is the yogic test given about the holistic health. In Garen Samhita it is told that nasti maya samam papam, nasti yog samam balam. So first yogic view it is that if we have the illusion, we have the confusion, then it is the first cause of the sin. And second one, if we want to become healthy, we need some power. It may be physical, mental or spiritual. So yoga provides this kind of the energy. And second yogic view, that samatvam yoga uchyate. Our life is something gaining and losing. So it is part of the gaining. Life is the always in gaining or losing, but we have to maintain the equilibrium. And samatvam yoga uchyate provides that kind of the thought. And one more sloka in Bhagavad Gita, that yoga is the destroyer of the suffering, like tam vidya yog sangitam yog sangitam, and that type of the knowledge which is lead to avoid the suffering or destroy the suffering, that is yogic view. And we find that Yoga Sutra also given the one thought that if we do Ishwar Pranidhan, then all antaraya will disappear. All antaraya means 9 type of antaraya, and it is covered physical, mental and spiritual level of the antaraya. 9 antaraya is covered by the Patanjali. And we recommend the yogic lifestyle, which is we found the Bhagavad Gita, yuktahara viharasya, karmasu chestasya, and yuksapna bodhasya yoga bhavati dukha. Yoga bhavati dukha means yoga become a medicine for the all of the misery, all type of the things. And we find the one thing that we have the very good techniques like Ishwar Pranidhan, Kriya Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga and Saptanga Yoga. Saptanga Yoga, it is related to Garen Samhita. Ashtanga Yoga given by Patanjali. Patanjali told that yoga anushthanat asuddhi chahe jnana dipti avivek chate. Means we try to purify all level of the personality, physical, then second one the behavioral, then physical, and some personal, after that bodily, energy level, sense level, ego level, and after that chitta. Chitta means inner self. These all parts connected and interconnected. So Ashtanga Yoga given the purification of the all level, and that Patanjali, that's why Patanjali told that Patanjali given the Yogang Anushthanat. If we practice combinedly, then we get all level of the purification. And lastly, he given the our Vivek Khyati should be stable. Vivek Khyati means our intellectual, normal intellectual we should be wisdom. It converted in wisdom. Then that wisdom guide to person how we have to decision, take the decision, and how we could discriminate the thing. So that is main thing of the Ashtanga Yoga. And Saptanga Yoga is also, we find that different kind of the thing. It will begin from body, the Sodhan Kriya. Sodhan Kriya started purify the body. Then asana, it given the one, you can say strengthen of the our muscular system. And if we see the mudra given the stability in the whole body. Pranayama given the lightness of the inner and outer part of the body and mind. And pratyahara, then again dharya means patience, it creates patience. And dhyana we provide to realize the self, and samadhi given the detachment to all world. Then we got the liberation. So yoga is the main role. Yoga give the main role that we can find the liberation, and these are the main thoughts given in our Yoga Shastra, basically Yoga Sutra and Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Ghiran Samhita. And we think that we find the holistic health if we practicing yoga holistically, comprehensively, and very combinedly. If we do practice only part and part, some little bit asana, little bit pranayama, then yoga not complete the holistic health. It cover not holistic health, and we find that Yoga Shastra given very early that we are able to get holistic health through yoga system. Thank you. And we teach about the health in different part. And another one, human excellence, it is related to yoga and leadership, how one become a leader. And another one, consciousness, human consciousness and yogic science, and how we evolve our consciousness towards the higher supreme consciousness. It is the three parts of the yogic science, and we give the yoga like karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, and Vedantic, all type of the yoga system, and correlate with three things.
Just one more additional question. For how many years we've been doing it, and the number of students who are actively involved?
2 years of the master degree, 3 years BSc degree, and 1 year diploma, 6 months certificate course, and PhD.
Okay, thank you.
Our Gurudev Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharya has written on Hindi on different types of books. It is social, personal, and spiritual level. And he got realized, and firstly he written first book, Who Am I? मैं कौन हूँ? And after that he started journey of the writing, and his well known magazine Akhand Jyoti till then published, and started Akhand Jyoti, and it translated in different language. And we find he is the thinker, visionary person, and he gave the method of the Yuga Nirman, how we make. So he given the three things, Vyakti Nirman, Parivar Nirman, and Samaj Nirman. These are the main factor. And he given one more thing, that for the human being, मानव में देवत्व का उदय, धरती पे स्वर्ग का अवतरण. So we need to change personal level, then we need to change others. हम बदलेंगे, युग बदलेगा. This is the basic theory, and he given all thought related to this.
I'm so privileged to be here and talking in front of scholars, practitioners, enthusiasts in this field of yoga on this important day of International Yoga Day. So just to give a small introduction about myself, I'm from Hong Kong and I've been working and living for almost 14 years. I'm a naturopath and also a yoga practitioner. I graduated from India in naturopathic medicine, and I'm blessed with formal education in yoga, which is it's a complete education. It's about for 5 years course. So so whenever I treat my patients, I try to combine both the systems of medicine and then try to find the root cause of the disease and then try to heal them inside out. So just a small introduction. So I would like to, when we're talking about yoga and personal well-being, I would like to directly say that what is well-being? Well-being is all about being happy. You want to be healthy, you want to be happy, you want to be prosperous, that's it. So these are some of the facts about well-being which I would like to know all of you. Like on an average, people are more happy when they're young and when they're old rather than in the middle age. Although there's massive economic growth in our world, people are still not happy. What's the reason? And individuals with positive outlook are less likely to get any kind of disorder, especially even if they're exposed to virus also. Our happiness can influence up to 50% of our happiness around us, so it's contagious. And most people think that success leads to happiness, but it's always vice versa. So when I went to Hong Kong, even I had the view that I'm going to be happy with my practice, everything is going to be successful and blah blah. But then traditional Chinese medicine was the forefront in Hong Kong because 90% of the people were locals. So I didn't have anything much to do with naturopathic medicine. But I had a tool with me, that's yoga therapy, and it was easy for me to become a yoga teacher and enter any of the yoga centers. So, and yoga was just booming in Hong Kong. There was around 4 to 5 yoga centers, that's it. So I tried to teach all different styles, hatha yoga, restorative yoga, Bikram yoga, which is not my style at all. And then even in yoga, I don't know if you have heard about it. So I just taught for like almost 4 to 5 years, and then something I was like feeling that I'm still not happy. What is that? So then I realized that I need to do something more than that. So then I tried my style and I started teaching therapeutic yoga because I was also trained in that, disease management. So when I started doing this, I kind of really liked it because it's not just yoga therapy I was doing. I was taking care of people's food intake or diet or prescribing some other kind of treatments. So it's like indirectly I am approaching them through yoga, inviting them for the class and then taking care of their health. So even people were very quite happy with that, the style what I was doing. So I can say that yoga really changed my perspective towards treating patients in a holistic way, and also people were more open, and I feel that it became a transformational tool for me to change their mindset towards healthy living. So when we talk about healthy living, modern lifestyle, no doubt it's fantastic. We have a lot of medical technologies coming out and it's fast paced and easier information. Internet has become, made the world smaller. Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever, like from one end to the other world, we can just connect in a second. But then, along with modern lifestyle, there's a lot of disadvantages also that's coming up, like, life has become mechanical, you can say. People are like sitting for long hours, like for work, or, they are dining out culture, people don't want to cook, they like to order through, telephone, eat out, fast foods, that's one of the things, and lack of physical activity is something, that's just really popping up. So I can say that because of this lifestyle, we have this something called as metabolic syndrome. I mean, earlier we didn't have anything of this sort, but metabolic syndrome is like an umbrella of disease, which is because of the poor lifestyle practices. So as you can see, any kind of disease like cholesterol, high cholesterol, diabetes, or chronic inflammation, or it can be lack of enzyme. So all these diseases are because of the lifestyle we adopt, whether it's stress or pollution or smoking or due to lack of exercise. Okay, I know people already, scholars have already talked about stress and what are the functions that happens in our body, like our hormones really go imbalance, and then and it leads to a lot of diseases, like maybe it's sleep issues, anxiety, or any kind of cardiovascular problems. So what do we do about all this? How can we really change this mindset? I mean, how can we change our people to be healthy? I feel that for my practice, yoga has been a very important tool, along with all the other kind of holistic treatments like dietary supplements, or whether it's reflexology, or whether it's Ayurvedic, or whether it is any kind of energy healing therapies. So I feel that when they were combined together, it can become stronger than any of the conventional medicinal treatments. So when we talk about well-being, I can say it's consistent with the World Health Organization definition of health, that is a complete physical, mental and social well-being. So I think even yoga also says the same thing, and I think when we start practicing yoga, we can not only just grow ourselves mentally, physically and spiritually, also financially, occupational, and all the other factors come into picture at that time. So no need to go in much detail about the sutras of Patanjali, as we have already been discussing yesterday. People have, scholars have given us such a great information. Just to give a rough idea about the 8 limbs of yoga, all the 8 limbs, yama, niyamas, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, until then, everybody, they are all the teachings what a person can take from there. Like yamas and niyamas are like behaviors and attitudes what a person can develop in ourselves, and then you can bring that peace within ourselves, or whether it's taking out the fear, or whether it's accepting, or whether it's gratitude, because these are some of the aspects what's really missing from in our day-to-day life. And then whereas asanas and pranayamas, and they all help us to make our body flexible, and it's not just our body, it's also the mind. If we have a flexible mind, then we can have a flexible body. So they help us to get concentration, focus on the things what we really need, and the dharana, dhyana and the samadhi, which is the outward quest, help us to integrate more towards ourselves, towards self-realization, and become more aware of our body needs, try to find out the root cause, what's problematic, and then address it in a right way. So I think 8 limbs really teaches us to follow the right way. Now talking about how do we use the 8 limbs, and how is that connected with our mind. So it's like once we start these practices, I feel that it's like it touches pure intelligence, or the chitta, what the scholars have already told about it, so which is unaffected by memory or identification. So once we once we go into this subconscious level of our being through yoga practice and other things, we can simply see that all the things will automatically happen in our body. We don't have to really struggle for it. So in my practice, mainly I talk to people about how to live. Hundreds of years ago, we used to grow our own food. We used to eat it with gratitude. We used to eat everything which is naturally grown, like vegetables or fruits or whatever. But this era is, life has become so much changed that we don't really think about what we are eating. I can see people walking around the street holding a cup of coffee, or eating, a sandwich, or, working on the computer, or, they are so multitasking. People are not really focused on what they are eating, what they are putting inside their body. Is the food nourishing their mind or nourishing their soul? So that's the question which comes here. So conscious living is all about being present and think about what you are doing at this moment, and not thinking about what you're doing in the past or in the present, and past or the future. So it's about living mindfully. So there's a lot of research about mindful living, and it shows that it increases the attention span, working memory, cognitive control, and decision making skills of the people. So what is this all about conscious living? So when we talk about conscious living, I want to really focus on just 3 aspects, whether we are eating the right way, whether we are breathing correctly, and do we have a lot of movement in our life. Because I think these are the 3 things which is missing out, and if we can fix these 3 things, and then it's like, it becomes easier. People, when they eat food, they're not chewing well, they are not cooking their food, they prefer eating outside most of the time, and then they don't really plan, they just grab whatever comes in their hand. That is something which is a culture, it has become like a culture. And talking about wrong breathing, breathing is one important vital part of your living. So our thoughts are so much occupied with many things, like we can do 3 to 4 things at one time. Because of that, we are not able to regularize our breath. We have a very fast breathing, and then that causes high stress. So once we consciously control our breathing, and we do the deep breathing, and consciously do it, so we can feel that we can't even hold that muscles tight. Our tight muscles, which is always there on our shoulder, automatically relaxes. Talking about lack of movement, long working hours and sitting in the office, and it's leading to a lot of cardiovascular and metabolic disorders. So I think that yoga can come into picture, like the simple poses, or even when we are sitting on the chair, we can just do some kind of movements and try to invigorate ourselves. Now I would like to discuss one of these case histories of my patients whom I am treating with with all these kind of natural therapies and yoga. So this lady, she's a 25-year-old female, she's a web designer. She came to me with a strange complaint that she's got this headache which starts sharp at 12 in the afternoon and ends in 5 in the evening. So I was like wondering what kind of headache is this, that it starts at sharp at 12 and ends in the evening at 5, and then she's all fine. But then when I took her case histories, I came to know that she used to eat outside most of the time, and she was not a person who used to eat home food. And then she was not really very happy with her job and lifestyle, what she's doing. So I just counseled her, and I tried to tell her that you can just start coming to my yoga class, and help her, which will really help her to reduce her stress level. And then I just gave her some nutritional advices, like people are really lacking in food, because we don't really eat variety of food. We just stick on to 10 types of food and we keep eating them all the time. So I just gave her some advice on nutrition, and then I just gave her a hydrotherapy treatment called enema. And then she started continuously doing this like for a span of 2 weeks. And then, the outcome is it really changed her lifestyle. Her headache automatically vanished, and then her anxiety or stress lowered down. And then she decided what she really wants in her life. She quit her job and she found out something more what is appropriate for her. And I'm just giving an example that the yogic lifestyle and simple change in food and things really change our mindset towards a healthy living. So this is another case study I would like to talk about. She is a 52-year-old Asian CEO of the company. She used to have a very busy, active lifestyle. So somebody told her that yoga is going to help her to reduce her stress, so she wanted to take some classes with me. So when I always teach yoga, I always do the consultation, and then I came to know that she had this chronic constipation for 20 years, and she used to take laxative every day. So I didn't really deal with her, and I didn't want to talk about that initially because I wanted her to know and feel how is it doing yoga and practices. So once I started teaching her yoga and I started telling her that you need to really work on your constipation, she was very open for it. And I started with the stress management protocol, like I do yoga nidra and breathing exercise. I try to mix up all the things, whatever I can do, and try to reduce her stress level first. So I just take 2 hours in a week, and rest of the day I told her you have to practice on your own, because she used to live quite far away. And she was quite dedicated with that, and she tried to practice every day. She was so much dedicated, she used to wake up in the morning at 4 o'clock and she used to practice yoga till 6 o'clock. I was amazed by her, her dedication. And I could feel that yes, she's going to really get better. So by doing all these treatments, like some advice in nutrition and some hydrotherapy, she completely cured of her constipation in 3 months. She showed me a big box of laxative what she's going to send back because she no longer need that. And then she also told me that because of the yoga nidra session, she had some kind of childhood trauma which just relapsed back, and she narrated all that story to me. And she feels more mental clarity with practicing yoga, and it really changed her lifestyle, and she feels that it's not just busy lifestyle she need to focus, she need to really think about herself, what her body really needs. So basically I'm telling is that when we combine yoga as a therapeutic tool with other aspects of alternative medicine, it's very easy to break the stubborn habits of ours. And yoga along with naturopathic medicine becomes a complete model for treatment as I'm doing it. So it's like a preventive, promotive and therapeutic cure for, in my aspect. So thank you very much.
Question on digital detox, right? We are surrounded by devices. There are a lot of Wi-Fi networks around us, Bluetooth communication. So what's your point of view around digital detox?
Of course, it has to be taken out around you. So at least when you're sleeping, try to off all the Wi-Fi connections or all the blue lights, and at least 1 hour before you sleep, make a mindful practice, like you have a routine before you sleep. So you have to fix that routine, whether it's a meditation or taking some hot food bath or whatever, so that you go into that sleep state and you cut down everything. So you have to take out all that EMF, out of that area where you're, it's very hard to take out, but still try your best to, that really helps.
Any other question? Yes, please.
Do you use a standard set of yoga asanas for your patients, or do you tailor them?
I don't use any standard set of yoga asanas because I really don't follow any standard. So based upon the patient's ability to do. So if you're talking about depression, right?
No, but just in general.
General, okay,
no.
Yeah, I don't have a standard set. Like that lady who had stress problems, so I felt that I need to do more on deep breathing and yoga nidra and more helping her to reduce her stress. Something which she can follow even when when I'm not there. So even in her office she can just do. So those are the stuff.
And do you ask them to do these certain set number of times and for a number of days, or do you prescribe that way? Or
No, I don't have any kind of restriction on that. I used to tell her whenever she has time, because people in Hong Kong are quite busy. I cannot tell her that, okay, you need to do this at this particular time and all that. I just want them to get used to that feel. So I just tell whenever you have time, please do it just on empty stomach. That's the only condition. So whether it's morning or evening, because life is like 9 to 6 hours, or maybe you work more, so you need to really make them comfortable and see that when they are free they do it. So I don't really put a restriction on that.
Quick question for you. There's a lot of talk these days about attention deficiency disorder and attention deficiency hyper ADHD. Now, is that something that we can address? It's open to anybody to comment over here.
Accordingly, I feel that ADHD is mainly because of the dietary lifestyle what you have. People, especially the kids, they are more eating all kind of junk food, like whether potato chips or burgers or sodas or candies, Even the parents are not restricting on that. So I think 50% of that problem is because of the diet. Once when you address that diet issue and try to put all the micro and macronutrients to the body, that child automatically changes. And then when you add these mindful practices, like breathing or any kind of these relaxation or physical activity like yoga poses, it will really help them to change, at least, without any medication, at least 70 to 80%.
King's daily routine, where the diet of a king is decided by an Ayurvedic doctor. A king is not free to decide what king will eat, because the health is taken care of, and the daily routine, that is the part of the yoga practices which the king is prescribed. So what we find is that yoga as a lifestyle depicted in Kautilya's Arthashastra, where Sudha emphasized lot many things, problems of modernity and how it covers the entire lifestyle. I was reminded of this, that every early morning, Vaidya, that is the Ayurvedic consultant, and the cook who is to prepare the food for king would consult each other, and then the food is decided. That is how Chanakya's Arthashastra mentions about yoga and leadership. Thank you. And about standardization, the question came again and now and again. I'm just again reminded of two philosophers. One philosopher talking about the multifacetedness of a language, because about the concept the question was asked. And this clarity of concept is much argued in the Western tradition as well as in the Indian tradition when meaning and language is discussed. And finally, the philosophers take a stand saying that standardization of meaning is really harmful because language is multifaceted. And we have to decide the meaning of a language and the linguistic terms and even the concepts in a context. So I just put it before you for consideration, you the learned audience, when we think about standardization. Another thing is I'm reminded of Kant's position, where he put forward his categorical imperative. It was just a skeleton, it was just a framework without much detailing of it, saying that the universality which the human conscience understands, apply the universal principle, the golden rule. So that also I would put it before the learned audience when we are thinking about standardizing any either meaning or processes or whatever it is. On the one hand, it is essential. On the other hand, some freedom also is required.
And I want to thank the consulate organizers for the kind invitation to have me come and present. So my topic is really on yoga for children, bringing yoga into the public schools. And we have research on the psychophysiology of yoga. We have a growing body of research, and some of that's been presented today. And we have in our landmark medical textbook, The Principles and Practice of Yoga and Healthcare, we have assembled the writings of over 60 scientists who are working internationally in yoga research. And in that book we have in chapter 4 a summary of the research on the psychophysiology of yoga. Of course, there are a number of review papers also published in biomedical journals reviewing the growing body of the benefits of yoga practice. And we have published this logic model that accounts for a lot of the constructs that we see in the practice of yoga, and there's research supporting these. So when I'm talking about yoga, this is a holistic practice that incorporates all of the important components of yoga. On the physical level, what I'm referring to as fitness, we see improvements in flexibility, strength, coordination, balance, respiratory function through the pranayama. So that's on the gross physical level. On a deeper level, we have the construct of self-regulation. This is essentially achieved by all of these practices in one way or another. And what we're talking about primarily is emotion and stress regulation, which over time leads to the skills of resilience to stress and equanimity in the face of strong emotions. And that leads to a self-efficacy of psychology altogether. Another element, and this comes primarily through the meditative component, is the increase of what I'm calling mind-body awareness. This, of course, is the focus of attention, which is the act of meditation, which leads to a construct that is becoming very popular now, and that is mindfulness. That increase in mindfulness leads to improvements in cognitive functioning, and the whole practice of meditation leads to a very important skill called metacognition, which has enormous benefits for mental health. And then finally, the other aspect of yoga, which comes typically after longer practice, is what I'm calling spirituality. These come from these transcendent states, these unitive states, the flow experience that happens even in brief moments in these practices that can lead to a life transformation and an improvement and an elevation of life purpose and meaning. And so what's interesting in this model is that we're affecting human functioning across a broad spectrum of human behavior and function, all the way from the gross level to the most subtle level. And this global human functionality and that range of functioning all the way from physical and mental health and performance to spirituality accounts for yoga's popularity and then also its benefits in medicine. Now, we're seeing a transition right now. I think we're in a tipping point in society. We have now a widespread use on the grassroots level of yoga. In the US, 10% of the population, over 40 million people, are practicing yoga. And what we are seeing now is a transition from the grassroots to mainstream society, into the mainstream institutions into society, into our schools, workplaces, and healthcare. And what is fueling that and supporting that is the increase in research on yoga. And in fact, this is essential for this transition to take place because these institutions require biomedical research to show that it's safe and efficacious. And what I'm focusing on, of course, in this talk is on implementation in the public schools. And this body of evidence is now starting to really focus into the general public. In fact, as you saw in an earlier slide today, even Harvard Medical School is getting into this game. These are two books that I've been involved in that Harvard Medical School now seems to be promoting the practice of yoga in the general public. So we've come quite a long way in the past 20 years or so. Now, turning to our children, we have huge problems. Just as there is an epidemic of so-called non-communicable lifestyle disease in adults, we have a similar problem in our children. This comes from stress, from a wide variety of sources. They have behavior problems, mental health issues, attention deficit disorders, problems with grades, and then problem in physical health. And you can just look at the statistics to see that this is the case. 30% of our children in the United States are clinically obese. And then in terms of mental health, when you look at the cumulative prevalence of a mental health condition over the course of adolescence, that number is 80%. It's nearly universal. So these are huge problems, and many people aren't aware of the depth and breadth of this problem. And the real problem in society is this is our future. And the problem is that these children do not have the skills to cope with modern life, and as a consequence, they are experiencing a host of problems, just as adults are. Now, there is a movement of bringing yoga to children, and this has become very popular. This is a conference that took place in the UK, in London. It's yoga for teens, and they bring in speakers and talk about the implementation of yoga for children in the UK. There is a conference here that has now been held for a number of years. This is the National Kids Yoga Conference. This is happening in Washington, D.C. in October. And this is a combination of yoga for children in terms of the teachers coming and sharing their programs, but there's also, I'm involved in coordinating research presentations on the benefits of yoga for children. And then in our textbook, we have a chapter. This is yoga therapy for pediatrics. What these studies show and this review shows is that yoga for children with disorders is just as effective as it is in adults. In other words, it works for children. Children can practice yoga and achieve the same benefits in terms of their functioning and their health as adults can. And if we're talking about yoga for children, where is the best place to put yoga? Well, I would say put it in the schools, because then you get all of the children. And no less than Swami Vivekananda himself argued for yoga in the schools. He talked about the practice of meditation leading to mental concentration, that education is the concentration of mind, not the collection of facts. And that if he had to do his education once again, he would not study facts at all. He would develop the power of concentration and detachment. And others have also argued for the need for a deeper education, a holistic education that includes mind-body hygiene. And this is an example from the West in 1914, where the prediction was that the health and welfare of a child will be regarded as one of as much importance as arithmetic and geography. Unfortunately, this prediction has not come true. And our children are very unhealthy, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. One another individual who has talked about the need for yoga in children was Swami Kaivalyananda, one of the leaders of yoga, who founded the Kaivalya Dhamma Institute, and had enormous influence on the evolution of yoga in the 20th century. And he talked about that, the need that every school will be immensely benefited if it includes yogic exercises in its program of physical education. And in fact, they went ahead and started doing programs. So there's evidence as early as 1972 that the Kaivalya Dhamma Institute was teaching yoga in school settings to promote the practice of yoga in young people. Here in the United States, we have published this paper. This was a survey of all of the yoga programs that currently exist in the public schools in the United States. These are standardized programs. They have manualized interventions. They have training programs for yoga teachers, teaching them how to teach yoga in schools. What we found was rather surprising, that there are, at the time we wrote this a few years ago, there are over 36 such programs. And these are being freely offered as volunteer programs across the country in as many as 5,000, in as many as 1,000 schools with over 5,000 instructors trained. So there is a grassroots movement already happening of yoga in schools, and there's a parallel movement of meditation in schools as well. In fact, there's an organization called the Yoga Service Council, which put together this very valuable white book on best practices for yoga in schools, basically talking about how yoga teachers can most effectively teach yoga in public school settings. And of course, there's been conferences on this as well. Kaivalya Dhamma has had a conference on yoga and education for a number of years, talking about the pros and cons and all the issues that come up with the implementation of yoga in schools, including research issues. And here in the US, we have had at the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health a Yoga in the School Symposium, which brings together a lot of these programs that offer yoga in schools for them to share and interact. And then I was involved in a pre-conference research summit in which we brought over a dozen researchers who are conducting research on yoga in schools to interact with each other and share evidence and develop collaborations. Now, we have published this paper, which is actually a rationale paper. The purpose of this is to justify why we should have yoga in schools. It covers a lot of the issues that I've already covered. This is also something that was done long ago by Swami Kaivalyananda, who published this study way back in 1971 of yoga in schools. And we have published this paper, which is a review of the yoga research in schools. There are only about 50 papers, so this is an area that is growing, and you can see this growth when you look at the number of publications in this field. So the past 5 years has seen this dramatic increase in the number of publications on yoga in schools research, including randomized controlled trials here in the orange trays. And surprisingly, at the National Institutes of Health, there was a workshop held on research in mind-body approaches to improve children's health. This is an all-day workshop by 30 researchers, and they began their academic deliberations in Bethesda, Maryland at NIH with a meditation practice. So this is really a sign of the times. Now, of course, as I mentioned, a lot of the benefits that children experience are also experienced, that adults experience are also experienced by the children. And that goes through the full range of improvements in terms of stress, emotion, mood states, and cognitive functioning. And just to show you some of our studies, this was comparing a yoga intervention versus a physical education intervention, showing that the yoga intervention for that hour of practice improves mood better than does regular physical education class. In a series of studies with Kripalu Yoga, in a randomized controlled trials, we have shown that comparing yoga and replacing physical education with yoga as a randomized controlled trial, we saw a pattern that showed that the mental health in a number of measures was maintained here in the pink, whereas the kids that did not get yoga were actually deteriorating in mental health. So this is actually this deterioration as we see it ongoing, and this is what manifests as these disorders later on. We are also doing studies on a program that's based on Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan, one of these many programs. It's called Yoga for Youth. And we did a study that's now just been published this year. And this was a single group trial done in a Los Angeles charter school. And what we found in a number of measures was improvements in perceived stress, increases in resilience, and improvements in positive affect. And so we're trying to work forward to develop controlled trials. And an example of that is actually now in a North Carolina school where we have applied Yoga for Youth. This was a controlled trial, and you can see that in difficulties in emotion regulation, that the yoga group is reducing their difficulties in emotion regulation. So this is consistent with the logic model that we've shown. So coming back to this logic model, we've also done qualitative studies with these children in the schools to get their feedback. And I'm showing you now some of the quotes from the students that align very well with these 4 different aspects of the logic model. So for fitness, I like to run a lot, and it can usually go better when I feel flexible. And I've been feeling better when I run since practicing yoga. I also ski, and the balance has helped a lot. The stretches helped a lot for sports. My legs would not hurt as much for sports, and it helped with performance a lot more. In terms of self-regulation, respecting how my body works, the poses helped with gaining control over myself. Yoga gave me a new perspective on my body, and I have more control than I thought I did. And then if I was stressed or angry, I would then do the breathing to calm me down, and I will probably continue to do this. So these are at the heart of self-regulation. In terms of mind-body awareness, I learned how to pay attention to how my body feels. This is at the heart of mind-body awareness. A form of exercise I found enjoyable and felt good. I noticed myself changing, an increase in self-awareness, and it felt like instant gratification. And this quote here is directly relevant to risk factors for non-communicable lifestyle disease. I've been eating healthier, more fruits and vegetables, and not a lot of junk food, for example, ice cream and candy. We did not give them dietary recommendations. This came out of their increase in self-awareness, noticing that junk food doesn't feel as good as healthy food. And then finally, there's a little bit less on this, but we can see some sort of elements that predispose itself to spirituality. I'm fascinated by the culture of yoga, how people can change their lives and help themselves. I'm interested in learning more. This is someone who's on a different trajectory, on a deeper trajectory of life. I've been a lot more happier lately. I feel like a better person, making better choices and staying out of trouble. So this better person idea is really critical. And then finally, this is a quote from the school counselor. It's made a huge impact on our school. It is making our school a better place. And so this is my final slide. This is where we are at in modern society. We are experiencing this epidemic of non-communicable but preventable lifestyle disease. The problem is our society does not have the skills to allow us to increase and improve mind-body health. So if we can get the research done that shows that yoga belongs in schools, that shows that it's efficacious, hopefully we can change this model over time to this outcome. Thank you for your attention.
It is so overwhelming when teachers, instructors of yoga themselves talk about their own trauma as if yoga journey starts from trauma only. So what is your comment on it?
So I think trauma is highly prevalent in our children, and I think it's important to be aware of that. So we have things called trauma-sensitive yoga, and I think it's important that teachers who are trained in yoga for schools be aware that a substantial fraction of the population of children may have had trauma. And this will adjust their way of instructing how the children are practicing yoga. So for example, one thing that you want to avoid if you are teaching to a traumatized population is to actually touch people, to make them adjust their posture and so on and so forth. So there are a number of guidelines, and so the best practices of yoga in schools actually addresses that issue about the best ways to avoid triggering someone who has had trauma. But I think that if it's practiced safely, there's now a number of clinical trials, including trials we've conducted in our lab, that shows that yoga is actually very effective at reducing PTSD symptoms. And it happens sort of behind the scenes. One doesn't have to relive the trauma. It just somehow just eases away with the practice of yoga. You know, those statistics that I shared with you about the prevalence of mental and physical health problems in our children, although it's unknown in the general public, I can tell you that principals know very well that this is a huge problem. All you have to do is talk to any teacher in any school, and they will say, oh yeah, we deal with this every day. It's a huge problem. We have no answers for it. In fact, the teachers themselves are burned out. So this is something that every school that we've approached has been open to this. In fact, they need this desperately. We've actually had schools competing for us because we've had research funding to be able to implement yoga in their school. So this is widely accepted by many administrators.
महर्षि पतंजलि ने कहा है, महर्षि दयानंद सरस्वती ने कहा है, सब सत्य विद्या और जो पदार्थ विद्या से जाने जाते हैं उन सब का आदि मूल परमेश्वर है। वेद में, अथर्ववेद में मंत्र आता है, सत्यम बृहत ऋतम उग्रम दीक्षा तपो ब्रह्म यज्ञ पृथ्वीं धारयन्ति सानो भूतस्य भव्यस्य पत्न्यरुम लोकम पृथ्वी न कृणोतु। इसमें हम जिस विषय पर बात करने वाले हैं, हमारा विषय विश्व शांति व आदर्श अनुशासन का आधार योग है। महर्षि पतंजलि ने निज योग सूत्र के अंतर्गत जिस परिनियम का आदर्श परिभाषित किया वह अष्टांग योग है, जिसके अंतर्गत यम, नियम, आसन, प्राणायाम, प्रत्याहार, धारणा, ध्यान और समाधि, ये 8 अंग सन्निहित हैं। इन 8 अंगों के माध्यम से जिस योग की परिकल्पना की गई वह योग मार्ग सर्वदेश, सर्वकाल, सर्वजनों के लिए मंगलमय होने के साथ साथ विश्व में शांति व आदर्श अनुशासन का आधार हेतु भी है। योग साधना एवं आचरण नहीं है कि जिसकी प्रासंगिकता किसी विशेष समाज, किसी विशेष वर्ग, किसी विशेष जाति, किसी राष्ट्र अथवा किसी विशेष काल में अनुभव की जा सके। अष्टांग योग शाश्वत कल्याण का पथ है जो प्रत्येक समाज, वर्ग, जाति, राष्ट्र के द्वारा समान रूप से उपयोगी है। इस संसार में योग साधना निवृत्ति मार्ग का प्रतीक है। प्रवृत्ति मार्ग भोगवादी है। पतंजलि द्वारा प्रदर्शित योग धर्म अर्थ, काम की प्राप्ति कराने के साथ साथ मोक्ष की प्राप्ति भी कराता है। भोग का मार्ग किसी भी प्राणी को निरंतर रूप से सुख प्रदान नहीं कर सकता। यह भोग मार्ग आपात रूप से क्षणिक सुख प्रदान करता हुआ इंद्रियों को जरायुक्त करने के साथ साथ मन में विभिन्न प्रकार के प्रदूषित विचारों का संकलन कर देता है और मानव को दुखदायी होने के साथ ही अंधकार के मार्ग पर ले जाता है, विभिन्न कष्टों को प्रदान कराता है। इसी कारण से भारतवर्ष के ऋषि, महर्षियों, आचार्यों, दार्शनिकों और उपनिषदकारों ने आपात स्मरणीय भोग प्रवृत्ति का परित्याग कराते हुए निवृत्ति मार्ग का पथिक होने का निर्देश किया है। योग मार्ग जितना महत्वपूर्ण एवं कल्याणकारी वैदिक काल में था, उसकी प्रासंगिकता आज भी उतनी ही महत्वपूर्ण है। आज का मनुष्य समाज और राष्ट्र पूर्व की अपेक्षा अत्यधिक संतप्त और दुखी है। यद्यपि आज विश्व में वैज्ञानिक पद्धति पूर्व काल की तरह अपनी चरम सीमा पर वृद्धि को प्राप्त कर रही है। वैज्ञानिक उपकरणों ने मानव जीवन को अधिक सुविधा संपन्न और भौतिक दृष्टि से समृद्धशाली बना दिया है, परंतु ये सभी समृद्धियाँ विश्व में शांति और अनुशासन को दूर भगाती हुई दिखाई देती हैं। आज के मानव का जीवन दिन प्रतिदिन अशांति और असंतोष को प्राप्त होता जा रहा है। संतोष के बिना किसी भी समाज का मानव सुख प्राप्त नहीं कर सकता। जब उसे सुख ही नहीं मिलेगा तो शांति की प्राप्ति तो पूर्णतः असंभव है। मनुष्य के पास विभिन्न प्रकार की संपदाएं एकत्रित होती जा रही हैं। जो वास्तविक धन संपदा थी, मनुष्य उसका परित्याग कर रहा है। किसी समय में गऊ, हाथी, घोड़ा और रत्नों को धन माना जाता था तथा इनसे व्यक्ति समाज में सुख समृद्धि की प्राप्ति करता हुआ दिखाई देता था, किंतु हिंदी का कवि कहते हैं इनसे आनंद की उपलब्धि नहीं हो सकती जब तक मनुष्य के जीवन में संतोष न हो। महर्षि पतंजलि ने कहा, संतोषाधन उत्तम सुख लाभ है। भारतीय विचारकों ने इतनी ही मानी है जिससे समाज का उपकार हो सके। कबीर ने तो यहाँ तक कहा, हे परमेश्वर, मुझे केवल इतना ही धन देना जिससे मैं भी भूखा न रहूं और कोई अतिथि भी भूखा न जाए। आज धन और काम के पीछे सारा संसार दौड़ते दौड़ते थक गया। जिस शांति को एवं जिस अनुशासन को वह धन के माध्यम से ढूंढ रहा था, भारतीय मनुष्यों ने वह शांति और अनुशासन योग साधना के माध्यम से अन्वेषण करने का हजारों वर्ष पूर्व संदेश दिया था। विश्व में आज इसी शांति और अनुशासन को ढूंढने के लिए योग का प्रचार और प्रसार बढ़ा है। सब लोग यही जानते हैं कि योग के प्रति मानव का मन परिवर्तन अकस्मात नहीं हुआ, इसमें सदियों बीत गया। वेदों में हजारों वर्ष पहले कहा था कि योग के अतिरिक्त सुख, शांति, आनंद और अनुशासन को प्राप्त करने का अन्य कोई मार्ग नहीं है। वेद में कहा, वयम श्याम पतयोरयिणाम, यजुर्वेद में कहा। योग के माध्यम से व्यक्ति के जीवन में जहाँ शांति और अनुशासन की भावना जागृत होती है, वहीं वह तनाव से मुक्त हो जाता है। आज के परिवार में समाज के टूटने का माध्यम यह तनाव ही है। एक व्यक्ति दूसरे व्यक्ति पर अविश्वास करने लगा है। प्रत्येक मानव एक अदृश्य भय से संत्रस्त है। योग की परिभाषा में इसका कारण असत्य, चोरी, अब्रह्मचर्य और अधिक संग्रह की वृत्ति को बताया है। ब्रह्मचर्य के पालन करने से व्यक्ति के अंदर जहाँ शारीरिक बल की प्राप्ति होती है और मानव शांति तथा अनुशासन के साथ जीवन व्यतीत करता है, वहीं उसे मानसिक आनंद भी प्राप्त होता है। जब मनुष्य आवश्यकता से अधिक धन संपदा का संग्रह करता है तो उसके मन के अंतर्गत आई हुई शांति भंग हो जाती है। उसे इस वैदिक परंपरा का निर्वहन करते हुए मनुष्य के जीवन में अनुशासन एवं शांति की उपलब्धि निरंतर होती है। यह सुनिश्चित है कि आज के युग में विज्ञान ने अच्छी प्रगति की है, परंतु जनसंख्या के विस्फोट ने उस समस्त प्रगति को धूल धूसरित कर दिया है। विश्व की अर्थव्यवस्था डगमगा रही है, मानव ऋण के बोझ से दबा जा रहा है, उसे चिंता सता रही है। निर्धनों के पास 2 वक्त का भोजन भी नहीं है। वेदों के अनुसार धन कमाना कोई बुरा नहीं है, परंतु आवश्यकता से अधिक अर्थ का इकट्ठा करना उचित भी नहीं है। आज हम लोग इतना अधिक धन संग्रह करते हैं, हमारे पास में यदि एक वस्त्र से काम चल सकता है, हम सैकड़ों की संख्या में भी इकट्ठा कर लेते हैं। और हम जब मूल्यांकन करें, विचार करें कि यदि हम एक से अधिक वस्तुओं का जब संग्रह करेंगे तो निश्चित रूप से, चाहे हम अपने पैसे से ही करें, अपने साधनों से करें, किसी न किसी दूसरे व्यक्ति के अधिकारों का हम हनन अवश्य करते हैं। इस तरह से यदि हम विचार करें और अधिक सामान पदार्थ इकट्ठा होने से उसके रक्षा की चिंता, उसके छिन जाने का डर और हर प्रकार के डर से यदि मुक्त होना है तो महर्षि पतंजलि के और वेद के आदेशों का पालन करना है। जिस यह सब तो विभिन्न जन्मांतरों से एवं सृष्टियों से हम करते रहें, ये कर्म तो वमन भक्षणवत है, अपरिग्रह मनुष्य को पूर्व जन्मों का स्मरण कराता है। इस प्रकार महर्षि पतंजलि ने अपरिग्रह की स्थिरता होने पर जन्म कथा का ज्ञान इसकी फलश्रुति बताया है। यह फलश्रुति अपरिग्रह का अदृश्य फल है। यह एक अध्यात्म पक्ष है। अध्यात्म पक्ष के मार्ग पर हमें जहाँ शांति और अनुशासन की उपलब्धि होती है, वहीं लौकिक जगत में भी आर्थिक विषमता के भाव को समाप्त करती है। आर्थिक विषमता और असमानता समाज को जहाँ दुर्बल और असंतुष्ट बनाती हैं, वहीं शांति और आत्मानुशासन का विनाश करती हैं। योग के माध्यम से यदि हम समाज में सुख, शांति, तप, करुणा, दया, अहिंसा, स्वाध्याय, बल आदि का प्रचार करते हैं तो मानव जीवन में अनुशासन, आनंद स्वतः प्राप्त होता चला जाएगा। यह एक सुनिश्चित एवं अवश्यंभावी प्रयोग है। योग की उपादेयता जितनी प्राचीन काल में थी, मनुष्यों के लिए यदि शांति और अनुशासन ढूंढना है तो उतना ही आज भी है। महर्षि पतंजलि ने जो यम की बात करी है उसमें अहिंसा सत्य, अहिंसा पर हम विचार करते हैं। हिंसा भी 81 प्रकार की हिंसा होती है। और हम हिंसा क्यों करते हैं? लोभ के कारण से करते हैं, क्रोध के कारण से करते हैं, मोह के कारण से करते हैं। और इस प्रकार से हम सत्य पर भी विचार करें तो हम झूठ का जो प्रयोग करते हैं वो भी 81 प्रकार का होता है। हम जीवन में विचार करते हैं, कई बार कहते हैं कि बिना झूठ बोले काम नहीं चलता है, परंतु यदि हम जीवन में झूठ भी बोलते हैं तो झूठ बोलने का भी हमारा आधार, हम यही कहते हैं कि हम बिल्कुल सत्य कह रहे हैं। झूठ बोलने वाला कभी ये नहीं कहता कि हम झूठ बोल रहे हैं। तो महर्षि पतंजलि ने और वेद ने, अथर्ववेद में कहा है कि सत्यम बृहत ऋतम उग्रम दीक्षा तपो ब्रह्म यज्ञ पृथ्वी धारयन्ति। हर जगह हम सत्यमेव जयते का नारा देते हैं। तो जीवन में अहिंसा, सत्य, अस्तेय, ब्रह्मचर्य, अपरिग्रह का पालन करने से सामाजिक परिवेश में परस्पर विश्वास बढ़ता है और हम दोषों से, अपराध से मुक्त होकर के निर्भयता को प्राप्त करते हैं। और नियम का पालन करने से व्यक्तिगत जीवन में शुचिता और पवित्रता आती है। इस प्रकार से आसन, प्राणायाम, प्रत्याहार आदि करते करते हमारे जीवन में परमात्मा ने हमको कहा है, हर प्राणी का, हर मनुष्य का ये भाव होता है कि दुख से छूट करके अनंत सुख को प्राप्त करें। और अनंत सुख को प्राप्त करने का साधन है मोक्ष। और मोक्ष का काल वेद में बतलाया है 31 नील 10 खरब 40 अरब वर्षों तक जीवात्मा जन्म मरण के बंधन में नहीं आता है, वो अनंत सुख को प्राप्त करके आनंद में रहता है। तो हम उस सुख को प्राप्त करने का प्रयास करेंगे, तो उसके लिए हमको महर्षि पतंजलि और वेद के अनुसार ही जीवन जीना पड़ेगा, अन्य दूसरा कोई मार्ग नहीं है। मैं अपनी बात को यहीं पर विराम देता हूँ, और किसी को कुछ प्रश्न करना है तो कर सकते हैं।